not on the field, court, or ice. You are on the couch. From PG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, C. Wall, delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from the hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's C-Wall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you're not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am. Through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. See all and we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, and I am your host, C. Wall, checking in as I do each and every week to give you the latest and greatest commentary on the Washington Commanders. I see that you all are already checked in, and you guys know it's always a lot to talk about as you all are checking in. Make sure you are hitting that love button and that you all are saying hello to everybody. I see that the Seawall team has checked in. Joy is already checked in. Everybody's already greeting the queen herself, Mama Waller. We all had a great birthday celebration for her over the weekend. And thank you all again for your well wishes to my mom. I see Mazdak is on too. John Adams, Eric Jessup, and others are joining. Make sure you all are hitting that love button and tagging your Washington Commanders fans in the conversation. Wow. Is anybody else smiling, or is that just me? Am I the only one? I know I have what's it called? I have to do this public service announcement, this is a live Bowie television recording. This show, among others, can be seen each and every single day, 1:30 to 2:30 on Verizon Fios channel 11, as well as Comcast Xfinity channel 77. But while you all are here, there's an opportunity for you to get your questions and commentary on the screen. I've already given the network a heads up that this will be longer than 30 minutes, at least the live version. They can figure out what they want to do for TV. But this one is going the full gamut. Why don't we? So I think I've seen Damon check in as well, Ron Blackwell. I think have I caught everybody? And if not, because I see many are indeed watching, again, make sure you're hitting that love button. Tag in your Washington Commanders watching family and friends, and make sure you're sharing the show. I think that you all are probably going to be shocked a little bit about how I'm starting out the conversation this evening. What I would like to start out with is the positives. The positives. There's definitely some things I want to highlight that I was happy to see. And this week, what is it? Week 5. It was week 5. Now we're going into week 6, but technically, since it's Monday, it's still week 5 of the NFL regular season. So I want to talk about the positive things, and we're going to take our time with this conversation on this evening. So we're going to definitely start out with some positive things. I already see comments coming in. I want you all to start giving a guess on what you all think or who you all think I'm going to highlight from a positive perspective. I already saw one guest come in, but start to drop in the chat who you all are thinking I'm going to really shout out to see in terms of who I really enjoyed seeing and some positive things. And that's why I'm smiling. I know that everybody else isn't really smiling, but it's okay. So I have that all ready to go. Some of the pics from our Bowie Television photographer, Jarrell Owens. So let's get into that. Positive things first. Positive things first, and positive video as well. Okay. Then we're going to do something that I did a couple of weeks ago that I thought was pretty effective, and that was really break up head coach Ron Rivera's after game press conference. Okay. So we're going to do the positive things first because there was some things that absolutely made me smile. Um, I was a bit exhausted in the press box coming from a just fun-filled weekend celebrating my mom's 70th birthday. So I was tired, but it was okay, right? So I was tired, and there's one person, you already know one person that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to actually share that player's presser in a little bit to close out my positive conversation about who I was really, really impressed with or just happy to see. Here's one that you all may not have guessed. I was happy to see Cole Turner. Okay, I was happy to see Cole Turner. Unfortunately, Logan Thomas is out with the injury, and he's dealing with the calf injury, so he was inactive. So Cole Turner was able to play and get a few snaps, and so we'll be looking forward to see more from rookie Cole Turner. So I was actually really, really happy to see him out there for a bit. I also want to say, Terry. People can go back and forth about Terry McLaurin, but I'm going to say this about Terry McLaurin. He's going to try to make a play, and he can absolutely take a hit. He can absolutely take a hit. Sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, Terry can really take a hit. And he takes it, and he tries to do what he can to get this team amped up and fired up. And so I was really, really, I just wanted to shout him out. Again, the positives and the things that I saw that I'm like, you know what? I really want to say something about this particular player. Another player I want to talk about, Antonio Gibson, because you got to give credit where it's due. I am absolutely critical of Antonio Gibson, but guess what? Antonio Gibson still continues to be solid during this regular season. Still shout out to the whole entire the running back position group, who I've been sharing with you all since the summer, is a strong position group. And I definitely want to shout out Antonio for keeping it consistent and just showing his improvement from week to week on the field. I'm big on not showing improvement. This is a player who has absolutely shown improvement. Then up next, some of you have already said something about number 90. Oh my gosh, Montez Sweat. I said, hey, listen, this has been brewing. This has been brewing for a while. I was waiting because I've been, of course, watching the entire defensive line, and we know we've given shout outs to Jonathan Allen, just wrecking shop, Deron Payne, tearing it up out there. Montez Sweat, he got a little excited, so he definitely got caught on some penalties. But listen, phenomenal. I am looking and hoping that he continues to excel in that way and continues to improve game to game. Shout out to Montez. And some of you have already said it. Dyami Brown. I was so happy to see Dyami Brown. So many people would say, why we got Dyami? Why they got Dyami? Let me tell you something. Now you know why. The wide receiver group is deep. It is a deep position group. And I knew that with Jahan Dotson being out with an injury, Logan Thomas as well, that this was absolutely going to be a Dyami Brown weekend. It was going to be his chance. It was going to be his opportunity to really shine. And he did that because people aren't really checking for him, because you really ain't even got that much film on him to be checking for him. So listen, I was so happy for Dyami. I saw the whole play unfold, and the next player you all know I was really excited about. You already know Brian Robinson, and I said, "Hey, this guy is his day. It's his day." And when we saw the play unfold, I said, "Oh my!" I said, "Diami gonna catch it," and he did. I said, "Thank you." And then the second play, we kind of saw that coming because we've seen that play before back during training camp. But you know, Montez, listen, Montez was this was coming. This was brewing. I mentioned this down in Dallas last week. I said, "Oh, Montez gonna show off here soon." I can see it. Got a little excited. He got a little excited. But yes, that's what I saw. I said, I knew it was coming. You want to see improvement. Absolutely want to see. I see a question about Samuel Flash then disappeared. Totally disagree with this comment. He's not injured. He played. He absolutely played. But you got to be used in the play that's called. And yesterday was for Diami. It was absolutely set up for him. And they're not going to show you that because, hey, what do you think? And I see another question, and I said, the unfortunate thing, I see this thing about Ron Rivera's presser, and yeah, we're going to talk about it, but it was so taken out of context. And I was just like, oh gosh, here we go. It wasn't entirely wrong about, and I know what everybody said. What's the difference between everybody else? Okay, quarterback. All right. And he wanted to talk about all of the other stuff with people and how long the other teams have been together. But I'm going to tell y'all something. If you don't want to like Ron, I got some reasons for you not to like Ron. And it ain't about today's press conference. But before we get to that, I want to talk about Brian Robinson's press conference. We're going to get to all the negative. Trust me. But if you got some reasons not to like Ron, it ain't about today's press conference because he's been talking like that for a long, long time. So I would definitely like to share some of Brian Robinson's press conference. Have you all seen that? Have you all paid attention to that? I'm going to keep talking about Brian Robinson. Why? Because it's special. And the reason why I feel like it's special, I said in pregame yesterday, I said, this team needs a spark. If you always think about what this team does and what they gravitate to, it's always a great comeback story. So I was really, really, really hoping that against the Titans, that would be today. I said they need a spark. They need a comeback story because they always gravitate to a comeback story. They did that with Alex Smith. They did that with Ron's cancer treatments. Now you got the Brian Robinson story. And then with Diami having such a great game and then his teammates love him so much. I said, oh, here we go. Diami's having a good game. The team is psyched. They are really, really excited. And they didn't get it done. But before we get into the negative, because I feel like y'all want to jump right into the negative, I absolutely want to share this Brian Robinson presser because I have to. I absolutely have to because that's just who I am. Because I got a lot of negative things to say. So we can wait on the negative. Trust me, it's coming. It's going to come. So check out Brian Robinson Jr.'s press conference after the game yesterday. I always enjoy hearing him talk, but seeing his real life excitement and love for this game, it's magnetic, and the players, they got it. But I'll get to my negative talk in a minute.
Man, it felt good, man. I really can't explain the feeling, just being back out on the field, man. So many ups and downs, man, but today, everything finally came to the light, man. I'm just so blessed to be back out there, with all the fans, my team, just everybody involved, So.
Brian, what was that moment like when you came out of the tunnel and they announced your name, the last one called?
That was great, man. Just feeling all that energy from all the fans, obviously everyone who kind of missed the time that I was gone, and, my teammates waiting on me at the end of the tunnel, man. It was just one of those, a remarkable field. I can't really explain it, honestly.
Did you happen to have a moment on the field where you reflected back on what happened and knowing where you are now?
Actually, I put all of that behind me. After I took the field and I prayed about it, and I put all of that behind me. My focus was on being on the field and helping my team win. So, I kind of put that behind me, honestly.
With that being said, I mean, this team is, not playing well right now, but the way you're approaching games now, it's different because it's more than just a game. You getting to step on the field today, that's life. Can you talk about that, your mentality when you step on a football field now versus before?
Like I told you, I always had a dominant mindset. You just got to take it next step. Just being blessed to be able to come back and do it all over again, man. I never want to take it for granted. I want to leave everything on the field every time I get a chance to play. So my mindset is just keep making strive in the right direction. Hopefully we can pull something together.
Brian, you went through adversity so early in your career. What advice do you have for just anyone looking up to you or that's inspired by your story?
Never give up. Wait, you got blessed with another day. Another opportunity to wake up and chase your dreams. So just never give up. Keep fighting for what you believe in, and just keep working. And I feel like it'll all come to the light. That's kind of my story. I just kept my head high. I ain't complain. I ain't try to go back in the past. I just did everything I had to do to take steps forward. And, that's what helped me make the progress that I've made the last 6 weeks.
You ran out of the tunnel. You're the last one to run out of the tunnel today. And, of course, your teammates were waiting for you at the end, and they were just so happy. They were so excited for you. Can you just explain to us what they've done for you during this very difficult time in your life?
My teammates, man, they've been the best for me, honestly, man. They just been bringing all the energy that I've needed, ever since the accident, since my first time coming back to see those guys at the building. They just, welcomed me with open arms. They've showed me nothing but love, and they just showed me how much they appreciate my presence on this team, and and I felt that today. So I have a great teammate. We have a great bond in that locker room, and I just look forward to continue to build onto that.
Brian, because of your remarkable comeback, you're able to be on the field today, and which means, of course, you're unfortunately part of a loss today. What was your thoughts today, seeing that you guys were unable to, turn this around today?
I thought we fought. I thought we played hard. Obviously we can get better in some areas, but as this being my first time being a part of the game plan, then I can have new goals. Going to the next weekend. How I can help the team be better next weekend. Just continue to make progress. I feel like we played them hard. We played them to the last second. It didn't end how we wanted to end, but I feel like we was in position, to come out with a win.
Ron Rivera seemed to think that the defense, when you were in the game, was sort of keying on the run. Did you kind of get a sense that when you were in there that they were aware of your presence?
Kind of. I kind of felt like they they kind of played in the run fits a little bit more when I was in the game. They kind of expected me to run the ball. That's where I could help, in the play action game. And, we had a big play from the Diami, ran a long touchdown off of play action where they kind of bit down on it. They thought it was going to be a run play. They just kind of show you the effect that, play action game, can help the receiving game, when you have a threat, to run the ball.
Despite the loss, you told me during the summertime about that dream playing in the NFL. Did it live up to that feeling, like how you wanted it to be?
Most definitely. Just coming out on this field, even getting out of my car, coming through this tunnel, was part of the dream. So I'm definitely living out the dreams now. I finally got a chance to go out and play in my first NFL game. I can't really explain how it feels like going through what I've been through, but it's definitely coming to the light now.
Okay, I'm back. I had to go off the screen for that one because I'll be on the screen from when we start to go through Coach Ron Rivera's after game presser. So we already know he made a blunder today in today's presser. What was posted, even if you heard it, you have to hear the complete answer. to really understand what he was saying, but of course, only snippets of that was taken. But the after game presser was the one. And here's what I want you all to remember that Brian Robinson said. Do you all remember when Brian mentioned the De'Ami Brown touchdown? And he said they expected him to run the ball. Thought it was going to be a run play. Remember that? Remember that? Okay. Keep that in mind when we go through the after game presser. The after game presser is the presser you need to pay most attention to. Here's why. Because that's your initial reaction presser. And if you're paying close attention, you can say, based on whatever's going on. So I'm like, But we're going to go through each one of these. And for this, I'm going to stay on camera because I'm like, I want you all, I'm going to stay on camera and take notes because there are specific things I want to make sure you all pay attention to. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. Ron Blackwell, I believe, is still on the conversation. And Ron made a comment on one of my posts about the end of the game being textbook Carson Wentz. And that is absolutely right. And because that is absolutely right, I'm going to say and continue to say that his coaches are failing him. They're failing him. But we're going to get right on it. They failing a lot of people. They're absolutely failing him because you know who he is. So that means you got to set people up for success. And they didn't do that. In that play calling, no way. But I'm going to get right on into this because I'm like, terrible choice of play call. I had to laugh at some things, though, because I said, does Ron think we're not all watching the game? We can all see. And I also want to know if you all paid attention to the fact that, keep this in mind, Scott Turner was on the field because that's what Carson said worked best for him. Now Scott Turner has gone back in the booth. Why? Because that's what works best for Scott. Let's get on into these videos. Why don't we? Let's get right on into these videos. I will stay on camera for this.
Where does this team go from here?
Up. There's only one way to go. It's up.
Ron, what did you think of your approach once the ball got down to the 2-yard line?
Well, we had to get the ball out quick. So you can't develop certain types of plays when the ball's at the 2-yard line and you only have so much time left.
Obviously, it just happened. Did you have a chance to sort of see what Carson was looking at there on that last pass to JD?
Well, I think he was looking at a wide open JD until the linebacker who read it perfectly and made a hell of a play made the play.
How much did you miss it when Jahan not being able to play in that sequence? How much did you miss a guy like that?
Well, you probably miss a guy of his ability, but we have guys that are capable.
Ron, earlier in the game, it looked like you guys might have moved on from William Jackson. What was your thinking there, and could you kind of take us through that situation?
Well, we just decided to make a change.
And why was that?
Because we decided to.
Ron, 4th straight loss. I know you're not one for excuses. How did we get to this point? How did this happen, and how do you plan to fix it?
Well, we're going to play better. We're going to practice harder. We're going to go out and play football.
Any changes you can talk about right now?
We'll see what we're going to do after we get an opportunity to review the film.
Okay. There.
Coach, I just want to know more about your reaction. Just, Brian Robinson coming back. Your reflections on that.
Well, it was a good thing. The hard part about it was, they kind of try to. Every time Brian was in there, they were teeing off, and now, that part of it's over. He's played. We know that he's ready to roll. Now we got to go out and just make things happen.
Is there a reflection part of it? I know obviously the loss overshadows that, but just knowing what happened 6 weeks ago today.
It, absolutely, it's a tremendous thing. It really is. It really is a tremendous thing.
On the last series, you can't run the ball, right, with no timeouts. Obviously, you got to throw it 4 times. Is there any thought to rolling Wentz out just to give him another option, another potential read in that situation?
Well, the only problem with that was, again, is the amount of time it takes. You know, you're going to roll out, it's going to take a little bit longer. And, you know, and eventually, if you have to throw it away, you click a few more seconds off, and you don't give yourselves that opportunity.
So I'm going to pause because we're going to split this up. And here's the thing. Even Ron said, every time Brian got in there, they were all over him. Okay. David Aldridge asked the $1 million question. Any thought to rolling Carson out? Here's the thing. They're already on to Brian. You're right down there. You make a decision to throw the football when it's all these people in the end zone. Yes, the Titans player, he absolutely made a play. But it's easy to make a play when you're making a bad decision simply on the poor play call. You already did that play. It didn't work. You shouldn't have even tried that play. But at any rate, whether Brian would have made it in there or not, and I believe it was Ron Blackwell again that said, I think he's the most complete back on the roster. He is. Facts. For sure. They've also actually mentioned that now that Brian is back, they actually may use Antonio Gibson at returner, which I'm not real sure why they didn't do that anyway, but nonetheless, you pick Dax Milne, go right ahead. I'm not talking about that right now. You can't tell me it made any sense to pass that football at that moment. The challenge is situational leadership, even for Carson, right? We watched him make a couple of bad decisions. We've watched him actually rely a lot on Scott Turner. And once I knew that Scott went back in the booth, I instantly said, wrong call. Because you made a call to be certain places based on what your quarterback says he needs. But you're going to do what works best for you as a person and as a professional. Okay. Knowing that he wasn't down there, for them to have the face-to-face conversation told me everything I needed to know. It confirmed something that I've been saying for the longest time, and that is the coaching, the coordinators. I don't even have nothing to say about Jack, because Jack has responded fairly well to any adversity that he's experienced. But what I will say, from a Scott Turner perspective, who's been on my nerves, honestly, you make a decision like that, and which one is it? You want to do what's best for you or best for your quarterback? I got an issue with that. Because even with that level of play calling at such a moment in the game where you're basically being given a gift, right? Hey, listen, let's be for real. You're playing on Thursday night. People want something to watch. They're going to go ahead and give you a gift. They missed a few PI calls earlier. Here you go. Here you go. But you still made a decision. You had to play and then it didn't work. And you still run the same exact play, thinking it's going to work that time. It's not going to work that time. But even if so, you know that they were on Brian the whole time. You're right down there. Use Brian, and you either let Brian truck it through and he be the game's hero, because it's a strong possibility he could have trucked it through. I'm just saying. Or you let the Titans believe that Brian's got the ball and you let Carson truck it through. Why? Because at this point in time, Carson needs his motivation built up as well. I sensed I wanted to share Brian's presser first for a couple different reasons. One, so that he can share the camaraderie he's building with the players, his teammates, all of those things, the energy he was feeling. I shared with you all a few times in that tunnel. And when I come in, we all kind of come in the same way, meaning, staff, players, media, we all come in the same way. And it's that game day swag. Yesterday, I ended up coming in at the same time as Chase. I think that's the first time I've ever come in when he's come in. And we were coming in at the same time. And I had to figure out, was he playing? Because he had the game day swag. And in the game, and I thought he was playing. I was like, well, did they not report that? Because he was really, they walk in with the swag. They walk in with the vibe. They have it. And they want to win. It's not like we're dealing with a bunch of guys that they don't want to win, that they don't see it. They see it. But they're also trusting the coaching staff because the coaching staff has made it such that you have to do what they say, not what's best for the player. I got a problem with that. Soon as I heard that, I'm telling you, I'm not going to let that one go. You're down on the field because that is what your quarterback and what your offense is saying works for them. Now you back in the booth? That's a problem. That's a leadership problem. You do what's best for your team. You operate in which they are strong. That ain't good. That's not good. And I want to say this, this is all, the team has talent. They're not sorry. They're not sorry. And I had to say to my Sports Illustrated Fan Nation colleague, David Harrison, I had to tell him, David, you know what? I feel bad for these players. I actually feel bad. I feel bad for them because they want to win. It's not. But now you have them in sync where they're literally doing what they said that, right? We got to do what we say do. Now they're doing what you say do, and now they're messing up. But everything isn't right? Like, Ron has been saying it. I've seen the comments. That's cursing. So if you bring someone in and you know that that's who they are, guess what? You help them be strong. It's not about fixing anybody. It's about tailoring your style and what is happening so that this person can be successful. That is what you do. And sometimes as a leader, you have to make yourself uncomfortable so that your team can be better. That's what you have to do. Do I need to give some leadership development classes? Would you all like for me to give some leadership development classes? Hit the love button or a fire emoji because I absolutely would like to at this point. Because I just feel like, listen, they're all there. They're there. The guys are ready. They're excited. They're happy. They're fired up. I already knew. Y'all want to know a secret? Okay, I'm going to tell y'all this secret. I told y'all Chase came in. I said, ooh, Chase got the game day swag. Is he playing? I asked several people. I walked in the press box. Do you all know if Chase Young is playing today? Because I just seen him and he's got all the game day swag. And it's not even about attire. It's all about vibe and attitude. He walked in there like he was the best defensive player in the league. And he wasn't even playing. And then you walk in and you see the guys, they coming out the tunnel, they coming out, and everybody is the same way. But they're listening to their coaches, and this is not good. It ain't even good. Do I need to share the rest of this presser? I'll go ahead and do that because I got a feeling there was some other things that Ron said that I was like, oh, here we go. So here we go. Part 2 of the presser.
What's the plan this week? It's a short week. You guys are going to Chicago on Thursday, prime time. What's the plan?
Well, Monday we'll get the opportunity to watch the tape real quick as coaches. We've already done a little bit of work on Chicago as far as just putting some basic stuff together, bring the players in at 2:00, and we'll start on Chicago from that point on.
Coach, what was the thinking? You called a timeout at the end of the first half.
Right.
but then didn't call it the next play?
Because they started moving the ball forward. And instead of just slowing it down so they could take the opportunity to really think about what they wanted to do. And then we also thought we would go in and just, reset ourselves because we were getting the ball to begin with.
Did you think about it? Might have had 47 seconds and a timeout left.
I did think about it, but again, you get backed up and get in a hole and you give them an opportunity to score as well. I mean, that's two ways to think out of it.
And then one more just time thing. At the end of the game, you called back-to-back timeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have 2 plays called out of your timeout?
Well, part of it coming out of it just depends on what the situation and circumstances is with the ball. Okay, I called back-to-back because, again, when the referee went down to the ground, I was trying to yell timeout, but he was obviously down at the ground.
But out of that first timeout.
Right, but I'm just saying, though, that's what happened.
I get that. I'm
because
just saying,
if he doesn't give me a signal, we don't know where the clock is dead or not. And then as soon as we knew the clock wasn't dead, we had to call the timeout.
totally get that. But I was just curious if you guys called 2 plays out of that timeout, maybe saving a timeout for later when you got down to the goal line.
Well, part of what we did was you got to understand, you just don't call plays to call plays. You have to have what happens if you get a play and yes, exactly, but you get a play and you're going forward.
Yeah.
It's not always just calling plays to have plays.
Thanks.
Was it nice to see Diami fill in there for Jahan
Yes, it
on
was.
those deep
It was
balls?
nice to see Diami go out and do the things that he's capable of. His vertical speed was there. He made a couple of really nice grabs, and again, it's what we've seen him capable of doing.
With Jackson, how much of that was that his benching the missed tackle on 3rd and 1 there?
Well, I think again, is we make decisions based on the flow of the game, and that was one of the things that we decided on.
You had talked about significant, big changes coming if
I didn't talk about big just changes.
Changes, but I mean that was one of them. Just did you think it worked, or how would you evaluate the switch to?
Well, I'm going to take a real good long look at the tape with the defensive coaches, and we'll go through that.
All right. I didn't really, by then I didn't really tune out. I was in there and I was listening. I was just, kind of feeling the heat. I was really kind of feeling the heat, like, oh, Ron is really upset. He's upset. And I understand he's upset. I think everybody's upset. Let's get to part 3. I couldn't even figure out what I really wanted to say. I knew what I really wanted to say, but I'm holding on to that. We're going on to part 3. This is a closeout.
Back to the sequence before halftime. This is the second week in a row you've had the chance to maybe get the ball back before halftime, have a little time, but have opted not to mount a drive. Is that a reflection of faith in the offense at this juncture?
No, not necessarily. It's one of those things that if you do it and you decide to do it and you get trapped back there, okay, now what do you do? Then you're going to punt the ball. They've had 3 timeouts left as well. So
With Scott, he was up in the box, it seemed like. What went into that decision?
Well, again, just one of the things that you look at what you're seeing, the excitement of what's going on the sidelines. It's a little calmer up in the box. It's probably a better situation for him to look at things looking down.
Take a couple more.
Coach, could you put your finger or pulse on the struggles of the offensive line? What are you seeing out there?
Well, I see a constant new mixture of players. There's no continuity in terms of the same 5 guys every week or 4 of the 5. I mean, when you constantly have some sort of shuffle going on, it's tough to get some continuity, especially from the beginning. Now, if this was later in the year, you'd like to think that, there's a number of guys that have been playing out there, been working together, and when you insert one guy, it's an easier transition than having 2 or 3 guys that you've got to constantly mix in and out.
What were your thoughts on Carson today?
Well, I thought he had his moments. There were some things that he did really, really well, and I thought he threw the ball deep. I thought he the second touchdown, Diami, that was a check with me. He audibled, called the play, and threw it. So that was good to see him stepping into that role. And again, it's just things that we're going to continue to work on.
Coach, excuse me.
Going back to the late game, you guys didn't really go no huddle, go tempo there with about 4 minutes left. Did you feel like maybe you wish things had gone a little quicker by yourself one more time at the end?
Well, we'll see. I mean, again, we're going to go back and look at it. We'll talk about what we did. It's great to be able to second guess, though. It really is.
Coach, what is the sentiment of the locker room right now? How do you keep guys positive after such a disappointing loss?
Well, we're going to continue to talk about, becoming who we think we can. We're going to talk about working to get better and continue to talk about that. We're not going to back down on what we're trying to do. It's hard. It's difficult. But there's nothing easy about this game.
Last one.
Ron, is it panic time right now? Because
For you, maybe, but not for me, Scott.
Why?
I'm not going to panic. Why? Because there's plenty of football left, okay? We're going to work our butts off to get better. That's all we can do, okay? I mean, that's the truth of the matter is, and again, if you work and continue to work, eventually it's going to change. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change it. This is not going to happen overnight. It's never going to happen overnight. When is it going to? I don't know. But I will say, and I don't disagree with some of the thought process, there is a sense of urgency. And I hope everybody in that locker room has the same sense that I have.
Ron, two plays. One looked like Hasselbeck was sacked and in the grasp, and
that was a little bit of a heartbreak right there. The thing that we have to do more so is we have to be aware of where the ball is.
Okay.
We may have the quarterback wrapped up, and you may have his leg, but if you're not turning and torquing and trying to get him down, he has a chance to throw, and that's something we have to be aware of.
All right. I saw a comment come through about losing the locker room. He hasn't. That has not happened yet. Not with Ron, not with any of them. Here is though, I'm gonna tell you, I already told y'all from a leadership perspective, my biggest takeaway, and Ron answered the question about Scott Turner being in the booth and said it was more comfortable, better situation for him because he can see everything going on the side, on the field. It's a little more quiet. If you all don't take anything else away from that game, know that something that a quarterback said he needed in order to be successful, in order to kind of get with his coordinator, understand what they're talking about, he made a decision to do what was more comfortable. That's the biggest takeaway. For me, at least. That was one of the first questions I asked, looking at the sideline. Where's Scott? Somebody find out where Scott is. Which Scott? Scott Turner. Oh, he's in the booth. Oh! Thank you. Here's another thing that wasn't talked about. That offensive line. I absolutely have to share this. Nikki Jabvala shared this graph earlier, and please forgive me for not knowing the origin or not remembering the origin of this here graphic that shows the offensive line win rates, pass block win rate. This is for the O-line. Y'all see the W down there toward the bottom left? Do y'all see that? Are y'all able to see this? Pass block win rate, and then the bottom there, run block win rate. Okay? Offensive line. Andrew Norwell was just getting just bulldozed yesterday. Now, wasn't he? So I wanted to show that. Because it is important. I know the injury report, because it's a short week, the injury report also has come out. So I'll share that also. But I wanted to share that with y'all. Just the offensive line across the league, how well or not so well folks are doing. I think that was important to show and to keep in your arsenal of data and information about different position groups. You all know I already went off last week because the offensive line consistently gets false start penalties. It is more often than not always that position group, and I'm tired of saying it. Here's the injury report. I cut off half of this so it was visible for you all to see. You can't really see this. I guess, a lot of talk was around William Jackson saying something was wrong with his back, but he got pulled. Listen, long story short, we all know William Jackson got benched. That's what happened. And I think that others were really paying attention to the fact that now Carson is on here because of his right shoulder bothering him. Listen, it is a short week. And I just don't even have, I don't even know. We'll see. We'll see. Thursday night football. There were multiple different things that could have happened in that game. Yesterday, I'm going to say what I said last week. I mean, Dallas was a winnable game. It was 15-10 going into the fourth quarter. Yesterday was still a winnable game, and I was really exhausted yesterday, y'all. So I was in there wrapped up in a scarf, and I just was, if you all check out David Harrison from Locked On Commanders along with Chris Russell, they ended up naming their show Lord Have Mercy from today, because I know I said it about 18 times at the end of the game. I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. And I just couldn't. I didn't understand what was happening. So many opportunities. I want to go back to situational leadership, and then we'll go ahead and close the show out, because situational leadership, that stuff matters. The story that you're telling, even when you are trying to win a football game, matters. Who needs to win this game for the team? Should it be Brian Robinson? Should it, because of his comeback story? Or should we, we're going to fake him out again and make them think Brian's got the ball and then roll Carson out? And Carson, you get in there because you need a booster for your, for your overall just psyche and motivation. Coaching is a problem on this team. I was not going to come on here and blame Carson for being who he is. I do not necessarily think that them getting Carson was a mistake. I don't think any of that. I think that they're not doing right by their players. That is what I think. I think that there's decisions that are being made. Even the most subtle of decisions are very loud. And it could be a long season. You all have heard me say that offensive line false start thing is driven me up the wall, because this has been something that's been happening since July. It was an issue in training camp, and they haven't stopped. They just continue to do it. And it's because no one is correcting it, and that is a coaching issue. It's unfortunate to see William Jackson get benched as much as he's getting paid, but that's what happened. And we'll definitely see what else what goes on. But that offensive line false start penalty sends me through the roof every time, because it's more often than not them, and it's hard for them to recover after a false start penalty for some reason. And then just the lack of coaching to your players' strengths. That is leadership development one-on-one, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Y'all gonna hear me say this again. As a leader, I am a leader, and I don't mind telling anybody that. And I've taken a lot of leadership training, and that's why I can pinpoint it and say they're not putting them in the best situation to succeed. They coach scared. They play, they coach scared, but the team is ready. They got some talent there. And the Bears are hungry for a win too, because they lost in a disappointing way to the Vikings. I don't know. Thursday night football, we'll see. I will be at Soldier Field. And we shall see. But if they go into week 6, and they lose again, I anticipate changes. And that is what I'll say. Now, you all have hung out with me for almost a full hour. You sat there, you listened to my breakdown of every single piece of the after after game pressers that I really like to get into, because that is when the emotions are raw and the responses are really raw. And it's just kind of like funny to me at times, because it's like we just watched this game. So we got to go back and say, hey, now, based on what you just said, does that make any sense based on what we just saw? So I had fun bringing those down. You all enjoy the rest of your week. Make sure you're following Bowie TV Sports, and make sure you're following Seawall Sports everywhere, because we will be everywhere soon. So you all be safe. And all we can do now is hope for a win. Okay, you guys? All right, you guys be safe and be well. I'll be talking to you guys again soon.
You're not on the field or ice. You're on the couch. From PG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, C. Wall. Delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from the hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's C-Wall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, picking any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. See all that we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.